Well, I'm going to go on to the next bit of insurance in a minute, and then at the end of that, see if that's answered your question. Because, I mean, the answer to your question is, first of all, yes, as a club officer, you could be held liable. The second part of the answer is there's cover there to protect you if you are. Okay? Yeah. So, the 2 seconds, I'll come back to you. So, all of this cover that we're talking about at the minute is personal cover for you as a model flyer. So, as I say, the way to think about it is you go out model flying, you have a mishap, you damage somebody's property or injure them, they make a claim against you, that triggers the insurance into action on your behalf, and the insurance protects you from then on. Is that fairly clear? We talked about it, when you do stuff to other people. This bit, the best way to think about it is for when you do something to yourself. And I meant to bring a picture with me tonight and I forgot to bring it. As you can imagine, in model flying terms, people doing stuff to themselves, I see lots and lots of these shoved in propellers, and I'm getting a very comprehensive file of pictures at the office of people's fingers hanging off or being being placed next to the hand on a bit of kitchen roll. It seems that when people cut their finger off, the very first thing they do is pick a camera up and photograph it and send it to me. So we had one last week, a guy chopped, I think he cut those 2 fingers off about there, and you could sort of see the bone hanging out the end, and he's cut most of his thumb off as well. It was pretty, I was going to bring it and I forgot. So yeah, a lot of the ones I see are stuff that people have done to themselves, and I see some very nasty ones in the course of it. And again, to put it in context, although I see some fairly gruesome pictures, it's a relatively small number of incidents. Again, when you put it in the context of 5 million flights and 36,000 members. Oh, excuse me. So, the benefits on the personal accident policy, up to 35,000 on any one claim. It pays out on permanent injury, disablement or death. So if you injure yourself while you are involved in any error modelling based activity, and there is a long-term loss of use or impairment or physical disablement, or you die from it, then that policy will respond. And it's a no-fault policy as well. It's a very basic form to fill in, which is pretty fortunate if you've cut most of your fingers off. So it's a no-fault policy. Now, previously on this policy, there were age restrictions. It used to be up to 80, and then there was no cover after age 80. When we changed to the new providers, we managed to get rid of all the age restrictions, so there are no age limits on this policy either now. And also, we managed to increase the death benefit. It used to be 5,000, and now it's 35,000. So the way it tends to work is when a report is put in for an injury, that goes straight to the insurers, and things like fingers that have been cut off, they have a straightforward scale of payments. So I think a thumb is 5,000, that finger is 3, the next one is 2, something like that. I don't know the exact numbers. But they get settled very, very quickly.
So if you're a bit hard up, so then get your fingers chopped off and make a claim.
Well, you could try it. Looking at some of the pictures I've seen, I wouldn't fancy it. I mean, we had a guy 3 or 4 years ago now, and he chopped those 2 fingers off, but right down at the bottom, he got stuck in a helicopter. I've never seen such a mess. I have to say, it does make me cringe, and still, when I visit club sites and I see people still reaching around the back of their engine to adjust the needle valve, it makes me feel queasy, I have to say. So it's damaged some of the nerve endings. There is a long-term loss of feeling, but then the payout will be proportional to the injury. So say anything where there's a long-term effect, but no, 2 or 3 weeks off work for stitches. No. Now, you don't have to actually be at the flying field either. The wording is error modelling related activities. Very, very broad cover. So, as an example, we had a guy last year in his shed producing ribs for a very nice coarse scale cover something. He did a fantastic set of ribs on his bandsaw and a thumb. He chopped his thumb off as well. And he got carried away with the excitement of it all. So it will extend to if you're in the workshop or if you're at an event. It even covers you for your journey to the flying field. So if you're on your way to the flying field and you're involved in an accident that results in long-term injury or disablement, then again you can claim on the policy. So in personal accident terms, you're getting a fair bit of useful cover for £2 premium. So it's quite a useful add-on, and clearly not many people know about it. So, and so generally each year we see 20 to 30 claims on both policies as a whole. I would say probably 5 of those, 6 of those would be personal accident claims. Excuse me. And I say nearly all things in propellers, but not exclusively. We had a guy claim for, he fell down a bank while he was retrieving a model. Fell down a big concrete bank and hurt his back the other year. Paid out on that. We had a guy flying a cross-country glider competition, and they're excuse me, they're a clever lot. Not only do they walk and fly at the same time, this guy climbed a stile while he was flying. However, he missed his footing on the way down and slipped. Not only did he chin himself pretty spectacularly on his transmitter, he broke both of his wrists in the fall. I don't know whether he landed the glider before anybody asks. But one of the wrists was severely broken. Again, long-term disablement, loss of use, so that the policy paid out. and as I say, there's a death benefit as well. We had going back 7 or 8 years, we had a guy killed by a lightning strike at the Free Flight Nationals at Barkston. Obviously no consolation to his wife, but within 6 or 7 days the policy had paid out for the death benefit. So it's pretty broad.
God?
Sorry?
Isn't that an act of God?
Doesn't matter because it's a no-fault policy.
Oh, yeah.
You'd struggle to pin blame on God anyway, I suspect.
Yeah,
But no, because it's a no-fault policy, it doesn't matter what the cause was. Okay, so there's your 2 main policies on insurance. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to talk about the club bit next. Now, there is a whole extra load of insurance that is provided to BMFA affiliated clubs at no extra cost to the club. Now, the important bit is club committee cover. It's called directors and officers cover. But club committees and anybody working sort of or volunteering in an organisational role at a model flying club benefits from 25 million D&O cover. Now, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. So to go back to the point that you made, if there's an accident on a model flying field, so we'll look at the one we talked about, the obvious claim is against the pilot. However, due to the lovely world that we live in, solicitors tend to try and place as many claims as possible in the hope that some of them will stick. So as well as making a claim against the pilot, they may actually claim against the committee or the officers of the club for allowing that event or that incident to happen on the site. If that happens, then all of what I've said before applies, and the policy will be triggered into action on behalf of the committee members if a statement of claim is made. And again, all of that applies. There's no excess or admin fee on the club cover.
And do the individual club officers have to make a claim to get covered, or is it done as a club?
Excuse me, so you're looking at it backwards. It's the third party claiming against the club officers that triggers the insurance.
So they're claiming against the club officers. So does, in the previous instance you talked about individuals, and they actually make not a claim, but they actually kind of inform the BMFA insurance they've got a problem. But in the case of a club, or officers of the club being sued for whatever reason, do the actual officers of the club apply to the BMFA as a club for the cover of the insurance, or do the individual officers have to do that?
It's really either or. It doesn't matter either way. All you would need to do is, so did you say you're safe?
Safety officer.
Yeah. So if somebody tried to claim against you as a safety officer because you failed to prevent an accident or whatever, the claim would be against you. So all you would need to do is just get in touch with us and say, I'm the safety officer of the club. Somebody's making a claim against me. Can we notify the insurers? And we would do that. But nothing would actually happen in insurance terms until you've got a letter in your hand saying, you know, we hold you responsible for this incident. But at that point, when somebody makes a claim against you or the committee as a whole, that's what triggers the insurance. Okay. But essentially, it allows you to invite members of the public in, and they can have a trial lesson on the buddy box or however you do it on 3 separate occasions, and they benefit from all the same cover that you do as members for those 3 occasions. And its most practical value is as trial lessons. You know, when you want to run a membership recruitment drive or that sort of thing, you can invite people in for a trial lesson. So again, a really useful extension that a lot of our clubs do make use of. Okay, has that answered all the questions on insurance? Okay. Yes.
If you're actually inviting somebody, first-time flyers,
Yep.
said you got this additional cover, do you have to actually inform the BMFA that you're going to have such a day?
No.
You don't know.
No, I mean, we it's not something that's monitored that closely, I have to say. We expect the clubs to use it sensibly, because it's for the benefit of the clubs. So, I mean, it says on 3 separate occasions, but there is a little bit of leeway in the interpretation of that at club level. I think what it does stipulate is that it's got to be authorised by the club committee. So a member can't just take it on his own back to organise trial lessons. It's got to be approved by the
Flying on a park.
Yeah.
You know, like we've got the Braunston Park.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
But is there any limitations as to what aeroplanes you can actually fly when you're actually on a park?
In insurance terms, no. I go right back to the beginning, and we said it was for lawful recognised pursuit. So as long as you're acting lawfully, then your insurance is valid. Now, the situation with public parks is that you can fly on a public open space unless there is a specific bylaw in place that either restricts model flying or prohibits it. You as the pilot in charge are legally responsible for the outcome of any flight that you make.
Is your insurance covered then as well if you've not passed a certificate?
Yeah, and I have to.
Well, it's just something I got to ask.
Yeah, no, that question gets asked so regularly, and I can never understand where it's come from.
Well, I don't know. It's just something that dawned on me.
There's no stipulation whatsoever, with regard to achievements on the insurance. As I say, right back to the beginning, if you're acting lawfully, you're insured. Simple as that.
Can I just come in a minute?
Please do.
To reflect back on parks and open spaces.
Yeah.
I think it would be up to the individual before he flies on those sites to check up on the bylaws to see there's no restriction against that. Because if there is, and you have an accident, then the insurance wouldn't pay out.
I mean, that would have to be tested, but in reality, I think the insurance would still respond. But I think you'd be silly to chance it if there is a bylaw. If there's a posted bylaw specifically, preventing model flying, then you'd be silly you'd be running the risk of the insurers walking away.
It's best to check.
Yeah.
Make sure.
I actually did ask Knighton Park authorities. I rang them up whether you can fly electric models, and they said as long as it doesn't say on the boards outside that model flying is prohibited, you can fly in any park in the
Leicester
country.
Council have been really good. We've had dealings with Leicester Council, mainly through one of the clubs that was flying on there. But I mean, they used Braunston Park for one of the clubs, and the council were very, very supportive of model flying. Yes.
I'm mentioning that about the park, especially Braunston Park, because there was a time, not recently, I'm going back 4 or 5 years, and I went up to the park just to see what it was all about, this new club.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, 2 members of this club...
So we'll look at just some of the stuff that the BMFA has achieved over the years. So on this particular subject that we've just been talking about, the BMFA negotiated a national agreement to prevent local authorities amending their bylaws without consultation. You'll see why that was in a minute, but essentially going back a few years, local authorities did start putting bylaws in place, and quite often completely unreasonably and also unlawfully. So now where they put a bylaw in place, there is a consultation process in which the BMFA has to be involved. The